I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Jamie Keech, founder of Resource Insider. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charlotte.
Great, and we're here on PDAC. It's toward the end of the third day of the show. Can you tell me how it's been for you? What are you seeing? Anything exciting?
Yeah, it's been a good show. I think you can probably see I'm looking a little haggard by the end of all the meetings and the dinners and whatnot. But I don't know. So last week was interesting because I think it started as the most exciting week in mining in the last 10 years. Gold was pushing up against $1,700. And then last week probably ended as the worst week in mining in the last 6 to 8 years. So I think there's a sense of shock, perhaps, or dis-ease, uncertainty about what's going on. The show is a little quiet this year. I imagine it's mostly due to coronavirus scares and everything that's going on with that. But, you know, there's a lot of positive things going on. There's a lot of great deals. A lot of the companies we've invested in are here, and they're doing very well. So I'm happy. I've had a good time. I'm positive.
Okay, that's good. Talk a little bit more about some of those positive things, because I think we've heard a lot of negativity coming through here the last couple of days.
So, I mean, at Resource Insider, we look for good opportunities to put our own money in. We've lined up several of them over the last year, and a few of them have gone public over the last few months. One most recent is Eclipse Gold. They just launched, I think it was 3 weeks ago now. They're here, they're getting a ton of interest from investors. The share price has done very well. They're starting to explore Nevada. I just think for the right deals, there's people that are excited about them. And what I find kind of interesting is this mercutio view on just the up and down in gold price. I mean, even the crash, we were still at what, 1580, which is nearing a high for the last year. There are a lot of projects that are extremely valuable, extremely profitable at 1580, and I'm positive on the whole, whether gold's above $1,600 or not.
Yeah, I think it's extremely easy to lose that sense of perspective, and maybe that's a little bit of what's happening when we come here.
Well, I think what you're seeing, I mean, I assume what's happening is money's pulling out of everything, including gold. And when the dust settles of this sort of financial crash or whatever it is we're experiencing, it's going to have to go back somewhere. It's going to have to find a new home. And I think gold's probably the obvious choice.
Great. So what are your thoughts on gold going forward this year, other than feeling good about it?
Do I think it's going to go up or down?
Up or down?
I don't want to call a price or anything like that. I think it will go up. I think it'll continue to be positive. But I think even if it stays the way it is, it's very, very positive for the space.
Okay, so other metals that you're looking at, we've talked a little bit about gold. What else are you interested in right now?
I mean, we will look at anything. The things that interest me the most personally are copper and nickel. Nickel, I don't have anything that I like, but I like the idea of it. And as for copper, I mean, the copper deal that I'm most excited about is called Solaris Copper. It was a spin out of Equinox Gold, where I used to work, so I'm a shareholder of it. Richard Wark is now the chairman. A friend of mine, Dan Earl, is the CEO. They're going to be going public soon, I think, is the plan, although they haven't set a date. That is a big copper exploration project in Ecuador, and it was discovered by David Lowell, probably the most successful copper explorer in history. So if you're looking for copper, I think that's the one I'm most focused on.
And for copper, that's a longer-term story, not a...
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much happen in the next couple of years in that space, much move. But, there's always a market for world-class discoveries.
And because you mentioned copper and nickel together, I have to ask if that's because of the electric vehicle narrative.
It is, yeah, the general electrification of things. But nickel's tough. It's really hard to find good junior nickel projects.
Right.
And I'm not invested in any, and I haven't found any that particularly pique my interest, but I am on the lookout.
Okay, so for those who might not be following what you've been doing, what are the qualities that you're looking for when you look at companies?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it could be broadly put into 3 categories. So we look at management, we look at assets, and we look at company deal structure, right? So management's pretty simple. We basically only invest in teams that are doing what they've done before.
Okay.
So Eclipse Gold is run by a guy named Mike Allen. He previously ran Northern Empire, which was a Nevada-focused exploration project that got taken out by Coeur for $110 million. They're now down the road in Nevada trying to make another discovery, doing the same sort of thing. Another deal we just invested in is called Sun Peak Metals. It's a gold copper exploration project in Ethiopia, run by the guys that used to work for Nevsun, and they were part of the discovery of Bisha in Eritrea, just down the road. So they're just trying to replicate past successes. So looking for management teams that are proven and experienced and really not trying anything differently is something that we like. As for the asset, I won't get too much into it, but it has to be a good asset. Yeah. And then deal structure. We want to see management teams be big shareholders. We want to see them getting in at a reasonable price. We don't want a ton of shares outstanding. We want to know the stock is held by long-term supportive investors.
Okay. And it sounds like you get into things that are fairly early stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that's really accessible to the average investor.
No.
So what would be your advice for investors who do want to try and go that angle?
Well, my advice would be to buy my newsletter.
All right.
I'm a little biased on that one, but that's our niche. So we only sell to accredited investors. They're private placements. You have to be accredited to participate in them. But what we do is our kind of niche is looking at these pre-IPO deals that are run by good teams, good assets, a good share structure, and coming in relatively early in something that's going to IPO in typically 3 to 12 months is our time frame. And we do that because, frankly, we're able to get better deals, cheaper prices, warrants, things like that are not often available to people. So either you subscribe to a newsletter like mine, or you work with a broker that's well connected and has access to these sort of things. That's how I would recommend people get exposure to that. Yeah.
Okay, and as we close out, I want to ask if you see any themes coming to the surface in the mining space this year. I know we've had a lot go on this year already, but maybe more ongoing themes that you see.
I don't know if I can think of anything that really comes to mind on that.
I
mean, there is, I think, a cautious excitement that money's coming back into gold again, but again, that was crushed last week. So I don't know if I see a theme.
Yeah, I don't know. Like last year was kind of the big year when everybody was telling us of mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. I don't know if we want to say coronavirus and uncertainty are the themes of this year.
Well, that's certainly what's driving gold price.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that won't be a major issue for much longer. But yeah, I think you've hit it so far on that one.
Okay. All right. Well, as we close out, final piece of advice, best piece of advice for investors as we continue into the year, what would you say to the viewers?
My best piece of advice, if you're investing in junior companies, is to actually do your diligence in getting to know the management team. And I think you should be reaching out to companies, and you should be hearing from the CEO or IR people firsthand about what they're doing, what they're spending money on, why they're doing it. Most of these companies are small and are pretty accessible if you put in the time. I think if you're not willing to do that, you probably either need to hire or work with someone that does, like me or a broker, or you should be focused on another kind of stock. Because I think if you're not really on top of it and getting to know the people behind these deals, there is a lot of opportunity to get burnt.
Right, and there's obviously a lot of questions you should be asking. Is there any that really stands out? Like definitely if you're going to ask one thing.
What are you going to spend money on?
Okay.
That's what I think. Is it going to the ground? If it's an exploration project, is it going towards drilling? Is it going to pay management? Where is that money actually going? I think that should be the focus. Is it going to be capital that adds value?
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's leave it there. That was great.
Right.
Thanks for being here. Once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and this is Jamie Keech of Resource Insider.